And thanks to you, the viewers of Idle Champions, you all voted not that our cast would speak like pirates, but that they would be cursed to talk in rhymes. And the gift of Bubbles' awareness that she has imparted upon you in attempt at making you talk like a pirate has done not that. And now you must speak in rhymes. I believe you are muted, Christine. I saw your lips move, but I couldn't hear you.
Oh, that's because I didn't say a thing. But sometimes I just want to sing. I'll say this analytically. Somehow I'm speaking rhythmically. Oh.
We seem to be under a dreadful curse where we're forced to speak in verse.
Baylock, does this seem like the time for a performance? Like, I realize you're very extra. Like, last Pure Yorick, I knew him well. Like, you seem like the type that would hold a skull and look at it wistfully. But I thought that you guys were, like, doing a pirate thing.
I agree. This rhyming is quite tragic and probably the result of your magic.
You all told me, go easy on the little scamp. I told you we should have made it walk a plank or ramp.
I love this so much.
Speaking in verse. What a terrible curse. This is the worst.
Oh. Okay, bye. She disappears in the spray of showers and bubbles again.
That little Bubbles is nothing but troubles.
Bubbles.
Next time it appears, I'm going to strike it and leave a smear.
Bubbles sought to give us piratical enhancement, but it instead has placed us under enchantment.
Again, we find ourselves in disarray. That stupid Holophant always leaves us this way.
Never mind magic, illusion, or lies. Let's go with plan A and kill those guys.
Good afternoon and welcome to Idle Insights. My name is Dylan, and I am coming to you live from the Polony corner of the world that is Victoria, BC, Canada. I have a very special guest joining me today. But first, I'd like to do a shout out and a thank you to our moderator and co-producer, Jay, who is running the C&E Games account and collecting questions for our questions document, as well as Lauren, our community manager, who is in chat. And of course, a huge thanks to Dungeons & Dragons for hosting us on the official D&D Twitch. It is and will always be an honor to be here. Now, my guest today is the author of The Godcatcher and the Brimstone Angels Saga of Forgotten Realms novels. She plays Cecilia, who is definitely not a warlock, on Dungeon Scrawlers each Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. At twitch.tv/Dungeon Scrawlers. And she also plays Havilar, Farida's more fighty twin sister, each Monday on Idle Champions Presents at 4 p.m. on this channel. Please welcome Erin M. Evans to the stream. Hello.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Oh no, it's always wonderful.
You forgot Champions of Lore.
You know, I kind of did.
Because he's always on my case about forgetting one of them.
I know. You know, and I thought about it after I said it.
That's okay. You gave me something to start with.
Yeah. Champions of Lore, each Monday at 11. Where to begin? This is the third or fourth time I think you've been on the Thursday show. You're one of our most guested guests.
Am I really? Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because
the vote of confidence that I have more things to say.
Well, we had a really great time working on adapting Farida to the game with you, and we're like, well, we'll do that again with Havilar, and maybe again after that, and but then also, I remember there was at PAX West connecting you with the High Rollers crew to do the onstage thing. to play Havilar with them, and then
Really exciting.
eventually we're just kind of like, well, you know who would make a really good co-host with B Dave on this on a lore show would be Erin M. Evans. We're like, let's see if they're interested, and just kind of threw it out there, and now you guys are 16 episodes in, I think, something like that.
I think it's more.
Yeah.
I think we were on 18 this coming one.
Oh wow, yeah, it's pretty cool. And putting what seems like your trivial knowledge of obscure things to good use with it.
I like that. Yes. Yeah. I like the lore side of D&D, and in particular I like finding the things that don't make sense, because I mean a lot of this is created, as you go, and so it's like, what's cool for this supplement or this adventure, what makes sense at this table, and how can I bring that to this, and there's so much information that you can't always know everything that's there. And so what I loved about writing in the Forgotten Realms, and what I love about Champions of Lore, is finding those places where you have kind of a gap and going, well, what can you put here? Like, what makes sense? How do you explain this thing? And a lot of things people have explained, and they're really fascinating and detailed and weird. But then you can still find those places where you get to contribute something as well.
That actually brings me to a question, because I'm curious, because you kind of talked a lot in previous episodes about the opportunities you had as a writer to expand upon the Dragonborn. One might even call you the mother of dragons born.
I like it. I'll take it.
But how is that different from when you were writing the Godcatcher? And that's a statue that's in Waterdeep. It's got a very firmly established place.
Well, so that's interesting, because when I wrote it, what existed was the write-up that Ed Greenwood produced for that, for the sort of forthcoming 4th edition material, and also for that series, because the Godcatcher is actually part of a multi-author series called Ed Greenwood Presents Waterdeep. So it was literally like, this is what happened to the walking statues. One of the walking statues is an apartment building called the Godcatcher. The landlady is Andra Blacklock, and she's a Raptoran sorceress. And when I came in, I was in the second group of authors that was hired, so a lot of stuff was already taken. That I found that, and I thought, well, that's really cool. So I did get to flesh some things out. The sort of the specific location of it was just sort of north of the market. So like I pulled out the maps and I said, okay, it's going to be right here. Is that okay? And the positioning of it, because I know the cover. I love this story. The cover of the Godcatcher, and I wish I had a copy with me so I could show it to you. But it is available to look at on Google. But it shows the statues kind of bent and twisted, and I wanted that because it was that the statue had been frozen. Because the idea was that during the spell plague, all the walking statues, the giant statues that protect Waterdeep in times of great danger, kind of activated and started going like kaiju nuts on the city. So all the available wizards are like, oh my god, I gotta stop them. So this one in particular had sort of stepped into a sewer line and fallen, and the wizard froze it while it was trying to get up or something. It was reaching in a way that's strange and evocative. So like the art director's like, I can't quite tell the artist, like not getting this quite. And so I took this lounge chair we had and an ottoman, and I put my leg between them, and I tucked my leg under. I'm like, it's like this. And so he took a couple pictures, and I know the first sketches were drawn over the pictures of me. So underneath that picture by the wonderful Andrea Jones is me. So I know that they've built up it since, because I believe it appears in Waterdeep Dragon Heist too. But it's a really cool location. It's
noted exactly where it is. I wonder do I have a map of it here? I might.
I know I saw that map at Gen Con when Beetle and Grimm's put out that really cool version. I was like, that's my apartment building!
That's Baldur's Gate.
I share ownership with Ed Greenwood and such.
That's and that's Hell. No, I don't have a Waterdeep one handy. I only have Hell, Chult, and Baldur's Gate. Roll it out. It's right there. Okay. But yeah, it is
on there.
Yeah. That's funny, actually. I didn't realize that you were the Godcatcher.
I hope it doesn't look like me, because it is sort of like a bald, mostly featureless individual. But maybe that's what I'd look like if I shaved my head. I don't know.
Yeah.
My head, painted myself gray.
It is a very evocative book cover. Like it's a
like
striking
it.
image. Yeah.
I've been very lucky to have excellent artists do the covers of my books.
Do you have a favorite out of the that and the 7 Brimstone Angels? 6 or 7?
6. There's 6 Brimstone Angels books.
Yeah.
I think it's hard. I think I like Ashes of the Tyrant best, which is the kind of purple cover, with Farida standing. It's great because it is not in the book. This doesn't happen. She's standing on top of the pyramid of Jared Thymar, which is the fortress city of the Dragonborn. And then if you kind of open the whole thing out, the back cover has Gratz standing behind her.
Oh, really?
He's in the book, but they're sort of in parallel storylines, so they never actually meet. She's dealing with sort of fallout of something he did, and then the other characters are dealing with him. But it makes a really beautiful setup, and that was Min Yum, who did several of the. He did Lesser Evils and Ashes of the Tyrant and Fire in the Blood and The Devil You Know. So most of them. But,
yeah, 4 of them. That's pretty cool. So I'm curious because I'm not a writer. How much of the information that you bring to an episode of Champions of Lore is random trivia because you watch Jeopardy or something, and how much of it is research you did for something either directly or tangentially related?
I mean, I do research before the show, because there are a lot of things where I don't know. Icewind Dale has its own steward within the novels. Like, that's Ari Salvatore's area. I'm not allowed to go there. But it's so I do look stuff up beforehand and check things. And there's also the fact that for a while I was an editor at WotC as well, and so I did edit other people's books, since I had to look up information for them to double check stuff, because I had all kinds of sources at my fingertips, and not everybody has that. Or if you have a specific question to look up. So I know how to do the research and check things up, but I also sometimes it just intersects with stuff that's interesting. Like we had the episode about gnolls, and I've always thought hyenas are really fascinating. If at some point someone said, "Hey, do you want to write a short story from the point of view of a monster?" I would probably go in and be like, "Okay, so I'm gonna make up a bunch of stuff about gnoll culture." Because hyenas are really cool. And what if you made them sentient and bipedal? It could get really interesting. Yeah.
Don't they have one of the strongest bites of any mammalian creature?
Yeah. If you look at their skulls, this sort of bone that goes around the side, that holds the masseter muscle in right there, it's like just sticks out hugely to encompass that muscle. So they chomp up bones. They can eat bones.
Ooh. Huh. Someday, people will get to travel again, and you can go to Africa and watch hyenas. Watch them yip away as they run away from a lion's food or something.
Those guys in Nigeria that kind of tame them, the hyena men. You can see them do, I think they do kind of perform with them, sort of.
No way, really?
That would be kind of cool.
I mean, I guess if Siegfried and Roy can perform with tigers, maybe it's not so unrealistic. Much
like Zuni Havilar's Nessian Warhound, they're always muzzled. They have a big chain around their neck. So tame is a loose word, but hyenas are cool.
Huh. Neat. I'd be curious to learn more about, because you said that you know how to do the research for Forgotten Realm specific stuff. What's that step-by-step process like? Did you have a bunch? I assume you had contacts at Wizards for different things, and then you also had contacts with different writers for different aspects. Is there a geographic map of the Forgotten Realms that has the authors' names and the resources names to go find people?
When I was an editor, I had a map up and I had post-it notes of where everybody was writing, so to make sure people weren't. It was me and the other editor, Susan Morris, would keep this so that we could kind of keep track, make sure people weren't all piling in on one place or arguing, writing things out of sync with each other. Yeah, when it was for me, my steps were usually, there's a really wonderful fan created resource, the Forgotten Realms Wiki, which is just, each section is as detailed as the person who's passionate about it is. So some of them are wonderfully detailed and some of them are a little sparse, but they usually have sources. So then you can go, okay, I need this and I need this. I need this Dragon Magazine article. I need this second edition source book and things like that. And so when I was writing for Wizards, I could get those things by asking my editor to get them. And then for stuff that's a little harder to pin down, I would go straight to the source. I would email Ed Greenwood. And I would ask him, okay, I need a phrase that a farmer from the Dale lands, specifically Harrowdale, would say to mean, are we in trouble? Like, I want to use a turn of phrase that's like metaphorical that people understand, but that sounds right. And what kind of things am I looking for? Or like, I'm going to reference some sort of plant life, and I'm going to use 3 things that people know. I'm going to say, these are firs and larches and spruces. And is there another kind of tree that doesn't exist in the real world that I can put here to remind people that we're not in Kansas anymore? And so things like that. Or if there were historical details that would kind of flesh something out, because Ed has so much information in his head and a lot of practice of like spinning it up, like going like, well, here's what I would do. And he is wonderful to collaborate on details like that with, because you can say to him like, I don't like that, I want something like this, and he'll help you kind of curve it, or he'll say, okay, then that's officially it. And it's great fun. And for some things too, like Fire in the Blood is set in the Kingdom of Cormyr, which has been around a long time, has a lot of resources about it, and a lot of very passionate fans. And I was fortunate to be connected with Brian Cortijo, who is someone who's done a lot of work on Cormyr and had written an article about the current court in Cormyr and what was going on with it. And he helped me out and did a lot of fact checking for me and beta reading to make sure that I didn't lose those details, because it was a place where those details were so important to fans, that making sure that they didn't get disrupted, right? You don't want to stick everything in, because obviously like a source book is both written with extra detail that you don't need to worry about unless you bump into it, but also written with gaps so that you can put things in. And so if you're going to do a novel, like, you kind of have to find the places where you can do the fill in, and where you kind of just pair it off and say, we're not going to talk about like, we're not going to stop and discuss the beer they brew here because we're not going in a tavern or something.
Yeah. Huh. And then I can just picture the next writer who eventually gets to come along is like, so they filled in these parts, and this is the source book, and then they filled in these parts. And it just, in my head, it gets complicated fast. I can only imagine what it's like from an editor's perspective.
Oh, yeah. There were definitely places on the map where we'd say, just don't go here right now. Like, leave it, let it lie fallow for a little bit.
Yeah.
Which is one thing where, if you are going to keep creating stories, it does get tricky when you talk about moving the timeline around and sticking things to a timeline, but having the ability to move forward and backward lets you pick different gaps to fill, because there's new opportunities there. Which is, that's also kind of the nice thing of taking the story to your table, that you can decide, I want to keep this and I don't want to keep that.
Do you find that actually helps a lot to inform your decisions as a dungeon master, or is it something that you're just kind of like, I'm going to make stuff up?
My dungeon mastering experience is I DM for my son's group, and they are a bunch of 3rd graders who are playing D&D for the first time. And so
you're not talking about the beer brewed in that tavern.
No. The first thing I ran for them, I ran a game. I really don't have a lot of experience DMing. I did not come to this the normal way. I didn't play D&D until I was like an adult. No one invited me to their games, and I'm mad about it still. I would have absolutely eaten this up as a kid and a teenager. I was an adult with a mortgage by the time I played D&D. I just really, really love books and fantasy, so I came in that way. So I have run a game I ran it at GameholeCon one year, and I ran it for Extra Life. It's called the Call Contract Murders, but I jokingly call it the Dragonborn dating game, because you play a bunch of teenage Dragonborn who are trying to make a marriage contract, because the way that traditionally works in Dragonborn culture is like, once you get to be a certain age, you need to like make a partnership with that's about your clans coming together largely. So it's like, well, but your parents are relaxed enough that they're like, well, who do you like? So you're flirting with other NPCs, but then you find a dead body and you realize something really big and terrible is going on. But you still have to flirt and find somebody to make a marriage contract with. So they wanted to play D&D, and I'm like, this is the only thing I have. So I stripped out all the dating parts. I added some random monsters. And it was an interesting experience because they liked it, but while they were in the middle, they didn't know how to explore yet. And they had sort of played D&D on the bus where they basically like narrated their fighting monsters, but it was like I'm gonna attack it with my sword. Well, your sword doesn't hit. Well, my sword is made of unbreakable metal and it's on fire and it's 7 feet long, so of course it hits.
Yeah. Well,
my monster has a spell that eats swords, so like it was getting them into like, okay, you have to follow these rules. So largely I kind of like I let them sort of, if they want to do something, I'm like, okay, you can do this, because like right now we're just sort of stretching our wings and stuff. But then they came to me and they're like, we want to play Dungeon of the Mad Mage, and I'm like, are you sure?
That's a leap.
Right,
from the
so
Dragonborn dating game to Dungeon of the Mad Mage in third grade.
There was some other stuff in there. They went to they went to like this elven forest, and I made up this stuff about one of their grandfathers making a deal with a devil, and the devil was supposed to be like, okay, now that guy's gonna be like their main antagonist, and then we did a little thing with like a floating library, and then they're like, no more of this. We want Dungeon of the Mad Mage. So
Wow.
Mostly they go around and they poke everything and see if it's a trap. They haven't gotten past the first level, which is fine.
Yeah, I mean, each floor is massive in it, and it's full of
God,
traps.
yeah. It's just going to take forever. So right now they are extremely suspicious everything is a trap, except the kid that loves the magic items absolutely grabbed the cursed sword that glues itself to your hand. Like, first
Excellent.
thing. My son was like, don't grab that. There's a skeleton hand there that probably is going to chop your hand off. And he's like, I don't care. I need a new sword. And then they started fighting over the sword because, once my son thought, oh, no, it's not cursed. Well, I want the sword then. So turned out, no, he can't have the sword. It's glued.
It would have been really great if two of them had their hands on it glued together.
That would have been amazing. Then they would have had to learn to work together, because that's the toughest thing. They get mad at each other and they're like, wait, I have a pretend sword. I'm going to stab you because I'm so mad. I'm like, that's not how we deal with conflicts. Like, come on, guys.
Oh, man.
I do a lot of, make an insight check. That's not a good idea. So then they feel like, they did it.
Oh, man. Yeah, I remember the first time I cracked open Dungeon of the Mad Mage and how big of a dungeon it is. I'm like, well, I guess they wanted to make the dungeon to end all dungeons, but it's so huge. And I haven't found a group to play through it yet, but one of my friends was playing it for a year, and he's like, yeah, we cleared the first 3 levels completely, and then we're like, oh, screw this, we need to get through it. And they just try to find their way through it as fast as they can because it's so big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see how long they're interested. Bounce out, and I don't know. Then I have to think of stuff though. Like, I'm tired and I already have to think of too many things. It's kind of nice to be like, okay, it says this is here. It says the gelatinous cube is going to eat you now.
It's kind of nice sometimes to be able to retreat to the book and be like, oh yeah, you entered this room and you just read the paragraph and you can kind of autopilot through it instead of having to be really creative.
Yeah.
Not that I'm suggesting that people shouldn't improvise, because you should, but it's nice to have that.
Have choices. Like, it's really fun to make up stuff and like create something, especially when they think it's really cool. But sometimes they're very ungrateful, and it's just.
Well,
it's nice to just
they're third graders.
Oh yeah, no, they're of the age, right? Kids that are in this 8 to 9 age, they're sort of natural narcissists on a certain level.
Yeah,
they're also very
tracks.
sweet. They can be very sweet and help each other very nicely too, but they can be absolute fills.
I have a question. When you were writing Farida and Havilar, did it cross your mind that you might be playing as them in things?
No, not even for a second. And that was well before like actual play shows were really a thing. I played Farida once when we were working on the Sundering. There was someone filming stuff around it for a documentary or something. I never actually saw what came out of it, but there was one day they had us all sit down and play our characters for like a one session kind of thing. So that was the only time I played Farida, which was like, Elminster doesn't listen to Farida. So, but yeah, no, I did not. This was not something that ever crossed my mind as a possibility. And once it started happening, I've said it before on Champions of Lore, but I think Havilar is a lot easier to play as a D&D character because she has a lot more kind of concentrated attributes that you can kind of pull it back. And she's like, well, she's not super smart, but she's super good with her glaive, and she's a little silly, right? And like she has this hellhound and she has these imps, and you can have something that's kind of a little more concentrated that you can do in little bursts, whereas she's the protagonist of a 6-book novel series. Like she's just a lot, she takes a lot more space and a lot more of it is internal. So I haven't figured out how to play Farida. I am sure at some point I will be able to figure it out if it comes to it, but in the meantime, Havilar is a lot of fun. And I don't usually play fighters, so I'm learning that. But yeah, so the first time I played her with the High Rollers, it was weird because I was like, I didn't quite know I knew how to pretend to be Havilar. Like I know how to think like Havilar because I've written a lot of Havilar, but insofar as how do you mechanically translate, like what should she be doing? And I was really struck by the fact I was really bad at fighting, and it felt terrible because Havilar is not. This is the one thing she's really good at, and I failed her by rolling crap. And so afterwards, I was like, I don't know what to do. Then I had friends kind of suggest things to me, like, you know what Havilar would do? She would always be ready in action. And I'm like, oh, that is kind of fun. And then by now I've learned a little better how to do the Battle Master. And my friend Yang Yang Wang, who's on Dungeon Scholars playing Stong, is very good at building characters, and he kind of helped me work out like how to optimize Havilar. And I listened to some of it because some of it is just a character thing.
Yeah. In that case, though, it seemed good in that Mark Hilms has read the books, and it seemed like right off the bat, you're like, I summon my imps. He's like, oh yeah, Dembo and Mott show up, and you're like, I'm like, man, he knew that off the top of his head. Good for him.
I loved that. I love hearing people do the imps, because what's weird is the imps somehow always come out sounding like they're from New Jersey, no matter who does them. I didn't tell B-Dave that before Unfair because they're not as much. He doesn't do it as much, but I think the first time I had a little bit of that. But I know Satine and Mark have both done them, and they both did the same thing. I was like, I don't know why, but I love this. So now I'm like, I'm not going to tell you how to do the imps. You do the imps, so let's see what you do.
Just so you know, they're from New Jersey. Oh man, yeah, that's super funny.
Accents too.
Mark's accent work is fantastic. It was really impressive watching him do the, because I think the one of the devils that he had to interact with was Irish.
Yes, that was a very good Irish accent.
Yeah, it was pretty wonderful. I'm not going to try and do an Irish accent. I cannot.
I don't do that. That was in Unfair Seas when the Hollyphant, when Havilar got the Hollyphant thing, where the Hollyphant was gonna like Havilar. B-Dave messaged me and he's like, by the way, when that happens, you have to do an accent. And I was like, haha, that's funny, I'm terrible at accents. And then I was like, oh no, he's serious. Oh no. Because like, I feel like I'm generally bad enough at accents in the right way that makes it sound like I'm making fun of how people talk. Not that I'm bad at accents. And so I was really panicking. I was like, what if I just start talking like Farida to make Havilar freak out? And he's like, you know what? YOLO, like, you should lean into this, like, be bad at it. So that's what I did. I did the worst accent I could imagine. The loudest I can imagine doing it.
It was pretty funny.
I'm glad it worked because I was terrified.
I thought it was really great. I thought you did a really good job of pushing yourself pretty far outside your comfort zone between that and the rhyming. Because just the look of panic on your face when the rhyming started and everybody else is just kind of going with it and you're like, oh no.
I'm sitting there going like, there's something weird because like I don't have a lot of problems writing poetry, but there's something about it being written down and then my brain translating the sound that I can do. But like when we're all talking out loud, I have to like translate it to the written version and then back to the sound, and I'm just like, so I was sitting there like, okay, think of a word that you would use and what would rhyme with it, and I'm like, ooh, tragic magic. And the second I thought of that, Mark did that one. I'm like, I can't just do what Mark did, damn it. And then like I think the first one I managed was like, oh, grave and cave rhyme, watery grave and cave, and then someone's like, and something glaive, and I'm like, oh my god, why didn't I say glaive? I should have said glaive. So the whole time I was trying so hard to like think of a word I would want to use, and then a word that would rhyme, and then how would I make that into like a 2-line bit of verse? And I was like, this is so terrible. This is also like when we did Bardic Inspiration, Jason was like, you're a writer, it's gonna be fine. And I was like, I don't know, man. I love that song, but I don't know how much I helped.
Well, that's why we use Rhyme Zone. You helped a ton. Every time we've only had a guest on a handful of the episodes. Like we've had you on it. We had Ed Greenwood on it at the end of last year.
That was good. I saw that one.
Who's like, oh, I brought a poem that I wrote in 1976 about Elminster. We're like, okay, that's the chorus. But you can have your Rhyme Zone window up. And then the guest can be like, well, this is the character, this is what they did, these are some of the things that they've done, this is what their character's like, and just like, last episode we had Luke Gygax on, and the first 10 minutes he was just telling us stories about Melf. And of course, when he's telling us a story about Melf, and he's like, this is the first adventure he did, he's like, he's playtesting the Tomb of Horrors for his dad, Gary Gygax, right? Like,
that's so wild.
And his friends' characters are Bigby and so and so, and it's like the spells are also named after those characters, right? So you just sit there and listen, and then try and translate it into lyrics, and sometimes it turns out great. Yeah.
Yeah. It usually does. I love that show.
That's a fun one to work on. Yeah. But yeah, rhyming is an interesting thing. It gives me nothing but the utmost respect for people who can do freestyle rap and stuff, because they can come up with it on the fly.
That is, I feel like that's a school of wizardry right there.
It is. Yeah, call it College of Words Bard. I don't know.
There we go.
But something. Yeah. And B-Dave did one with Freely in the last episode, actually, at the very end.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he wrote it in advance. At least it didn't come off like he wrote it in advance.
I couldn't tell if he wrote it in advance and then he was trying to sound like Freely was coming up with it as he was going, or if he was coming up with it as he was going. And
it's hard to tell, especially with those people who have acting experience, because you're like, hold on, are you pretending to be good / bad / interpreting this in a different way, and you just can't really tell. Yeah.
You're actually mad at me right now.
Yeah, and of course, Obo Lauren Urban in chat, and Garwar like College of Rhymes. Oh man, somebody should write up a College of Rhymes, a subclass set, and put it on DM's Guild. That'd be fun. And then we will get somebody else to do it. Somebody a little more comfortable with rhyming all the time. And of course, Mark makes it look really easy, because Mark is a professional improviser, so
right.
He has no issue coming up with stuff constantly.
This is a skill set I admire. I am working on attaining some of it.
Yeah, it's super impressive. What has the Idle Champions Presents experience been like from your perspective so far? Because, you're one of a cast of characters. It's been on for 3 episodes. A new adventure starts on Monday.
Yes, which is exciting. New party members, new problems. It's been really fun. It's been kind of exciting to play with new people. And I'm so impressed with everybody, and slightly like, oh, am I allowed to be here with you guys? Because you're so good at this. B-Dave's an excellent DM. It's been a lot of fun. It's interesting because I really like when I play D&D. I'm very I get very into my character, and I like the long arc. Really like a long arc. And this, it doesn't have that pressure because Havlar's already had her arcs. She's done. And so this is moment to moment. This is having fun, which is a totally valid way to play. This is not normally what I go for, but it's better for this, right? And it's nice that I don't even have the itch anymore for because it's something where that's already kind of been created and lives in the novels, and if I tried to pull those things back into this game, it would just be confusing. So I get to be this sort of fun moment-to-moment version of Havilar, who is fun, to be clear. And I feel like that lets me focus a little more on those like improvisational skills, and on knowing how to play a fighter. Not on rhyming, apparently. I need a little more practice, but...
But it must, in some ways, though, feel kind of you're liberated from the callbacks and from the history of the character in a lot of ways. And
yeah,
kind of. And then, like, B-Dave's like, well, Zuni's there, or your imps are there, but otherwise it's not, like, constantly bringing up references of past deeds in novels. And
it's also, like, yeah, I mean, there's that, right? And there's things where, like, I have to kind of where it is important, where I have to be like, okay, this... I was on Twitter and I mentioned I made a joke about Havlar not being able to rhyme because her first language is Draconic, and you can't rhyme in Draconic, or it's like Latin, where in Latin poems it's tacky to make them rhyme because it's so easy to rhyme in Latin because of the way the endings work. So like pure Latin poetry does not rhyme. Like if you make it rhyme, it's kind of sing-songy.
It's bad poetry.
So I'm like, bad poetry, exactly. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's because everything in Draconic kind of sounds like it ends in a cough, so you don't want Draconic to rhyme, so she doesn't have any practice. This is obviously just me bullshitting because I can't rhyme.
Yeah.
And someone pointed out, like, well, she's a tiefling, so her first language should be Infernal, and that drives me nuts, because his language isn't genetic, but I get it's magic. So things like that, where it's like, okay, there's no rules reason for her to have, like, Draconic on her sheet instead of Infernal, but I am like, this is the one she can speak, and that stays. So like little things come in and I'm like, that has to be there.
Adopted by a Dragonborn, raised by Dragonborn, probably gonna speak Draconic.
Yeah. there's like a whole in Ashes of the Tyrant, they go back to Jared Thymar, to the Dragonborn city, and with them is Bryn, who is Havlar's boyfriend, who's a human, and one thing that he has a little trouble with is that when they're all there and they're all surrounded by people speaking Draconic, they keep speaking Draconic without kind of realizing they're cutting him out, because like that is her first language, but that's like this is a tiny thing, and these are all very easy to sort of encompass, and there's things like where if like the version of Havilar that's in Idle Champions, I always say the versions of Frida and Havilar are like versions. They sort of are still in the middle of the series and completely outside of it. So for example, like Havilar has her imps, Mott who's sort of like the chief imp, and is the imp that carries through the whole series, gets promoted at the end of Devil You Know. He's not an imp anymore. But that would be confusing in the game, and it's way better to have the little imps. And so the Idle Champions version of Havilar in Idle Champions Presents, she still has her imps. All of them. That's the other thing, is there's only ever 2, and then one of them keeps dying and getting replaced in the novels, which is why they fling themselves and explode, and I love it so much. So it's like, it's sort of, and it's the same kind of thing where we talk about like what makes a novel character and what makes like an RPG character. Like they're serving very different purposes, and it is more valuable, for example, to have these imps available to do funny things or to solve small problems than to get into the like, how do they come in and in what order, and why don't we have the last one kind of explanations, which are important in the novel. But over here, it would just bog everything down and be boring. So it's like, it is like a shift, and it is a little different to not kind of go like, well, where am I going with Havilar? Like, what is my goal at the end of this campaign? Like, do I want to be, the best fighter in the world, or do I want to have pig figure on a multi-class or whatever? It doesn't matter. It's like, well, I'm having fun. I'm doing this fun thing right now.
You've got an infinite sandwich box. That seems pretty good.
I have an infinite sandwich box. What else does anybody need?
Yeah, I part of me pictures if anybody ever asked Havilar what it was, she would just say that it's an infinite sandwich box.
100%.
Not that you can get whatever you want out of it, but like, no, it's my box that gives me sandwiches, and like, it's an infinite sandwich box.
That's it.
Yeah.
I bet once she figures out, she could probably get chapbooks out of it too. So it could be a chapbook and sandwich box, because I think those are the two things that, like, there's a point in the series where, because Havilar is actually the one who summons Lorcan, the devil that Frida makes a pact with, and at one point Frida kind of asks him, like, why didn't you try to make a pact with her? And he says, your sister doesn't want things that she can't get. She wants things that are in her reach. She doesn't need any help, right? And so Havilar is like, what do I want? I want a sandwich, right? that for a lot of the series, that her impulses are like, well, why would I want something that's like way over there? I don't even think about that. That's really abstract. So handed a magic box that can make anything, I fully believe Havilar would be like, I want a sandwich and a comic book.
Yeah. And then you had that great moment where you and Vivka were talking about chapbooks yes. and royalties.
I got so excited because beforehand she kind of mentioned that, like, it helps her get into the groove with Black Viper to kind of remember she's this notorious thief, that she is like well known, but also like super sneaky, right? So she's like, if you guys could like have heard of me, that would be great. And I was thinking in the middle of that episode, I was like, oh my god, Havilar has her chapbooks, I bet.
These like really these romantic books about this sneaky thief.
Yes, I was like, I wish I knew off the top of my head enough about Black Viper to then come up with a story that was just like 2 steps too far about Black Viper. Because that was in the moment I'm thinking, oh no, what would be a little too much? Is it like, you know, she like seduces this lord and steals the gems, or is it like, no, that's exactly what she does all the time? Why would that be shocking? She does this thing, but she burns this building down, and it's like, well, that's rude. No, she's not incompetent. So I'm sitting there like, what could work? And then I just like, you know what, it's fine, we did enough. But if I turn this into a short story, I would do that research and figure out the perfect answer.
Yeah, and you'd have to come up with a really clever name for it.
Yes.
Yeah. We actually did one of the Bardic Inspiration episodes with we had Vivka come on to help us write a song about the Black Viper, and it was called The Viper's Fangs.
Nice.
And it's like this like kind of waltzy song. I don't know how else to describe it. It was really fun though. Had one of the better choruses I think we ever came up with. It was like a lady of charm, a lady of class, picking your pockets or kicking your ass.
Nice.
Yeah, it was good. It was fun. Somebody says rockabilly and jazz, and another person says jazz swing. Yeah, it's a little more. Yeah, I'd lean more towards jazz swing. It was a lot of fun. I missed
that one. I'll have to go back and listen to it.
It was good. Yeah. Every once in a while we post because we do highlight each song individually.
Yeah.
So they're there and you can go back and find yours, and also so that Twitch doesn't get rid of them. Because I wouldn't want Twitch to get rid of them, so we do that too. It's pretty cool. But yeah, the Viper's Fangs was a fun one. Also, probably the good name for a chapbook, the Viper's Fangs.
Yeah. I think that sounds perfect.
Yeah.
Not just because I hate coming up with titles.
Oh no? Oh yeah, we had this conversation before. You said that somebody else came up with Brimstone Angels. You're like, that's great.
I was like, I hate it actually. Well, at first he said Angels of Brimstone, and I said that sounds like someone's crummy high school metal band.
Yeah.
And then I was like, no, because I had given my the managing editor some like titles that I hated, and one was Hellfire Twins. He's like, if you don't have another title by Monday, it's called Hellfire Twins. And I'm like, oh my god, it's so bad. I hate it so much. So it come Monday, I was like, fine, Angels of Brimstone. So I couldn't remember it. I was like, Brimstone Angels. So it grew on me, which is good. That's usually the thing. I fight for a title. I fight trying to find exactly the right title. I inevitably think of something that belongs on a literary novel or a short story and get told, why are you no? Because I think actually the first title I pitched for Brimstone Angels was Hell for Loveless Hearts, which is like half of a Voltaire quote. I think the art director said, that's entirely too long. Can't fit that. But yeah, so like I'll be like, oh, I love this title, and people will be like, I don't understand what that means. I don't think that's a good idea. That doesn't sound right.
It's too highbrow.
Eventually I'll get stuck with something. I'll be like, fine. And then later I'm like, okay, it's not bad. And then I'm like, wait, did I hate that at one point? I only kind of remember that.
Well, Brimstone Angels always sounded like a good one because you immediately make the connection. You immediately make the association with tieflings.
It ended up working, and then it was the thing that like it was just like 2 words, and then I was writing the book and I worked in the concept of the Toral 13, the coven of warlocks that made the pact with Asmodeus originally, that messed everything up, and Briseis Kakistos, their ancestress, who was called the Brimstone Angel. Like, I made that up after the fact because I was like, I don't know what these words mean. Like, they sound cool, but they're just 2 words stuck together. So that's handy when you can come up with the title. You get kind of the titles stuck down beforehand, and then you have to figure out why you like it.
I mean, it's not like I think back to a lot of really corny movies where they have to fit the title as a sentence in the film somewhere.
Right?
You know, and like sometimes you just like you cringe when they finally say it. You're like, oh. But sometimes they say it and you're like, yes! Like,
travel thing.
Yeah. And it's like you don't know where you're going to fall on it until the delivery, basically. What actually no. I was going to ask you about something that totally doesn't matter.
I love a tangent.
Yeah. The tangents are good. It's my favorite thing about Champions of Lore.
Oh,
is
because I don't think it's
if I didn't like that,
we'd be in a lot of trouble.
yeah. No, but it's good because it's a lot of the time it feels like going down a sort of, you have an idea of where the start of your knowledge experience with it is going to go, but it's going to go down some sort of tangential rabbit hole towards something else. And you just don't always know where it's going to go until it gets there. So,
exploration is one of the pillars of this game, right? So, there we go.
Totally, yeah. Of the topics you've had over the first 17 episodes, I guess if the 18th one is coming up on Monday, what has been your favorite topic to dive into? I know you guys spent a lot of time in the Nine Hells, but
yes, because B. Dave and I have strong opinions about the Nine Hells. Oh, I'm having trouble remembering stuff. I remember liking talking about gnolls a lot.
Yeah, there was a gnolls episode.
I enjoyed the episodes with Trovis, which is quite entertaining.
Just talking about different what was it? Towns of Icewind Dale, 10 towns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the one that ended with the why is there a cold adapted T-Rex in the how could you end up with this was quite entertaining because that had some good like lore holes with like kind of like how do you tie these together. Well, that
was, I'm not gonna lie, I was really confused by the cold adapted T-Rex as well, because I know that it's there,
right?
And of course the kobolds worship it. Why wouldn't they? It's a T-Rex.
Right? And like the bit where we were talking about frost giants and the frost giants using bolas that they had somehow learned to make from Zakaran jungle giants, and where I'm like, well, that's a place a T-Rex would live, in the jungles of Zakara. So maybe it came over with the jungle giants who shared their knowledge of bolas. That's the best I got. Although later then we were like, if you were like Asarak and you're in Cholton, you're just like I want to mess with people. Why wouldn't you ship a T-Rex to Icewind Dale?
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
If you're an immortal, super powerful wizard, you get bored. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, he took a break from just making dungeons for people to die in and decided to ship a T-Rex up north. Or maybe he was making a dungeon up north and accidentally shipped the T-Rex to the wrong dungeon. It was supposed to go to the Tomb of the Nine Gods, but it went to the Tomb of something else instead.
And the ship that was carrying it was just like, no, we're done.
Yeah, I
It's
just picture
waking
this
up,
like
we're out of food.
this blimp, this
off.
cargo blimp with a bunch of gnomes on board. They're like, well, it says this is the address, so I guess we just drop it here. And this little parachuted box with a T-Rex in it kind of like lands in all the frozen wastes.
And they scribble the signature on the thing. They're like, yep, that was it. That's signed for.
Yeah, they signed for it. We actually did a comic where some shifty Duergar were trying to sell a Serac insurance for his gelatinous cubes, which was two jokes. It was that joke, but it was also the joke we had. We had our gelatinous cube prop at PAX West.
I remember that.
That was the one appearance it got to have because it died in shipping. It got shattered before making its way to PAX South, and so it was also a joke about the fact that you make sure you got your gelatinous cube insurance because sometimes you need to get a shipping company to pay for destroying it. Yeah, God, that was the last one of the events that I went to out of ours, I think.
Yeah.
In 2019. It's been a time.
It's been a time, exactly.
Yeah. Well, we have a few more minutes. Is there anything that you're working on that you'd like to shout out or talk about?
Well, aside from Champions of Lore and Idle Champions Presents, I also do a show called Dungeon Scrawlers, which is set in the Forgotten Realms, and all the players are authors. So it's a lot of fun. It does have an eye on those long arcs kind of thing. We always joke it's Dungeons and Dragons and drama, which is fun, and I enjoy the fact that it's another opportunity to kind of play with the Forgotten Realms lore, because I miss it sometimes. And then to go with that, because we're all authors, we've been kind of producing some kind of fun fiction that's adjacent, that we post in our Discord. So that's been a lot of fun. I've been doing stuff. Well, I could say it's realms adjacent because it's not official, and so there is a certain amount of changing things so that it's not.
Yeah. Are you all cats too?
Just the one time. No, there was at some point we had an episode where the DM's cat, Eric's got to be his cat, jumped on his lap, and everybody wanted to see the cat. And we were joking that's what we should just do. We should just all have cats and have Cats of Westgate, which is the city in Forgotten Realms that our show is set in. And then we made a community goal for the Twitch page that was, okay, we'll make a game called Cats of Westgate. And they funded it in it like before the end of the night. So we're like, okay,
of course
so
they did.
We're gonna do this.
Yeah.
So yeah, we used I can't remember the supplement. There's a kind of Lovecraftian mythos supplement that was produced as a 5e, and we used that and we went to the Dreamlands. We got turned into cats and we went to the Dreamlands to try to find whoever was dreaming us into the shape of cat. It was very weird. It was very weird. And very silly.
That reminds me of I don't know, have you read Neil Gaiman's Sandman?
A little bit.
Do you remember the one where it was the cat telling the story about how the world used to be run by cats?
Oh yeah.
And they're trying to rally all the cats to share the dream to turn humans back into their slaves and all that stuff? Yeah.
That would have fit.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it because there were rules where if you can play a cat. I wish I could remember the name of the supplement. I feel very terrible. I can't give the author props, but if you can make a Dreamlands cat, you can use your, like, if you're a spellcaster, like, you can keep your wand or your rod or your staff, but what happens is it basically like merges into your eye, so you're casting spells out of one eye, which is kind of cool and creepy.
Yeah. Huh.
I got a staff of swarming insects.
It's just bugs just like flying out of your face.
Real gross.
Yeah. That is gross. It's gross and weird.
Right?
And perfect. I just realized that the game in the background killed a snow boulette, because those are totally different than regular boulettes.
They're kind of adapted.
Well,
send that into Champions of Lore. How are different boulettes different for different biomes? What changes?
Yeah.
The purple worms, that was it. We were talking about what happens if purple worms. Are there purple worms on the seafloor, and how are they different?
I
They're
mean,
blue worms because there's no red on the seafloor, so. But otherwise.
Or albino because there's no light on the seafloor either.
There is that.
Yeah. Although, of course, if they were albino from no light, then they might already be albino since they spend all their time underground. So,
That's a fair point too.
Yeah.
I guess it depends. Does it need a? I mean, a purple worm is kind of like, I don't even know. Do you count that as an ambush predator? Because you don't see it before he gets you. But it's not trying to be sneaky.
I think it really depends on how merciless your DM is.
There is
Whether a 100-foot long, 15-foot in diameter worm can erupt out of the ground suddenly or not. Yeah.
Oh God, I hope Eric's not watching this, or B Dave, neither.
Yeah. Well, there are no purple worms in the adventure that's coming up, so at
Well,
least there's
that's
that.
good to know.
Yeah. At least
Tell me, what are their secrets?
there are no purple worms in the adventure as written, because we publish these. The last one is out on the website now, and
Oh, nice.
yeah, there's one of our marketing folks, Margaret, who is a really good writer, put together all the synopses of each one of the episodes and like links to all the clips where people make bad decisions, and then at the very end of it, the PDF, downloading the PDF if you want it, is there.
I need to see that because there were some things I meant to ask afterwards if they were
Originally written for 4th to 5th level, that one, whereas the one starting on Monday is written for 8th to 10th level, so it's a little bit more. It's a little bit more already at that.
There was a Kraken in that. That was.
The Kraken was in the other one too.
Wow.
But it didn't have infinite tentacles in the book. That was the players. Yeah.
I mean, on the one hand, I'm like, that's not a thing. It can't have infinite tentacles. And the other hand, I'm like, nobody's picking anything but infinite tentacles.
Yeah. Well,
Except the people like me who are like, that's not a thing.
Well, but there was a distinct magical aura of the far realm there as well.
That's true.
Yeah.
A wizard did it.
Yeah, a wizard did it. Basically. Yeah. Actually, Pete, Evan and I had a lot of back and forth about Krakens over the weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it was very fun. I love banishment, and I know it's a spell that drives GMs crazy sometimes because I know my GM gets a little crazy and I do it. But it is fun and interesting and kooky. And I was impressed that Mark deployed it, that the Bailoffs deployed it, but also that Mark kind of that wasn't the first answer, right? Like we tried other stuff first because then we could all get to have fun and do crazy things, and it was good. It was really exciting and good balance, and it was really, really exciting when he was diving that carpet down at the Kraken, and it was like, and I was like, oh no, he's gonna do that. Oh, he's gonna do that. So
yeah, it was good.
I'm glad we didn't get eaten.
Yeah. I love banishment as a spell. I mean, I know it can trivialize some encounters sometimes, but there's so much fun stuff to do with it. I'm running a game that's in Avernus right now, and one of my characters thinks they're originally from one plane, and they're wrong. And they've succeeded on their banishment save the one time they would have learned more about themselves.
Oh, wow.
I've been holding that one back for months and months and months. Can't wait.
I hesitate to tell this story because I don't want anybody to tell me I'm wrong about this, but I have used it twice in Dungeon Scrawlers as a sort of quick and dirty banishment or quick and dirty plane shift for 2, where it's like, oh no, we're in the wrong plane. Like, let's go. Let's just banish ourselves back, and then don't bother me for a minute.
They walk up and hit you. Poof! Back. Damn it! I mean, I don't think it doesn't work like that.
Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't come up enough that I think it's been worth it to poke it for anybody, for the DM or anybody.
Yeah, I mean, it's
only been twice where we've been somewhere and that was a feasible option, because otherwise, you're there and so are your other 5 party members, and it's like, okay, which of you do I like the most?
Yeah. You're coming with me. Peace out.
So like twice Cecilia has been sent to another plane or gone to another plane with one other person, and it's been expeditious to bamf back out of there at some point. But
and on that note,
let's bamf out of here.
It's the perfect time to wrap things up. So thank you for taking time out of your day to join me today.
Thank you for having me,
and for being an awesome Havilar, and for being on Champions of Lore each Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific time on this channel. If there's anything else you'd like to shout out before wrapping this up, is there?
Just check me out on Champions of Lore, like Dylan said, on Idle Champions Presents at 4 o'clock on Mondays. Pacific's. Are we in Standard Time yet, or I don't remember anymore.
I don't know. Pacific time.
But it's going to be the kind where there's more sunlight next Monday, isn't it? That's
Oh, getting up earlier. Crap.
But more sunshine. I'm very excited for more sunshine.
The day with the most car crashes each of the year.
That part I don't like. But I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, I know. We don't go anywhere anymore, so.
Maybe it won't be so bad.
Cool.
And then at 6:30 on twitch.tv/Dungeons Crawlers, you can come watch me play D&D in the Forgotten Realms with a bunch of other writers. And also, we are sponsored by Idle Champions. Wonderful, wonderful people. So you can come get an Electrum chest code for your trouble.
Super cool. And they might be cats.
Right now we are infiltrating the hideout of the Night Masks, who are a gang that's been in Westgate since like 2nd edition, but there are a lot of vampires, but we have beef with them. Yeah. Also, we need more money, so we're gonna see if they've got anything hidden in this safe house.
Yeah, I mean,
I got stabbed twice, so it's not going great for me. But I did get turned into a vampire, so.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah. Vampirism is fun, especially since it doesn't. It's kind of weird in D&D. So. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what we talked about on Monday.
It's hard not to go back into that discussion about all the different vampirisms and lycanthropy and why one doesn't work or one does work or what's etc.
Where are you allowed to stab a sleeping gnoll vampire? When does it count?
Yeah, just I don't know. This reminds me of that quote on one of the Buffy episodes where she's like, "Can I just cut off its head?" Like that works for like everything.
Much simpler.
Yeah. All right, Erin. Well, have a great rest of your day and an awesome week. And
Thank you.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye. I saw some fun questions coming in over the course of the episode so far. And they are wonderfully random. Thank you for your random questioning. But they're also things that I can answer. So I am going to start to answer them. First, someone named Locustus. I apologize in advance for my name butchery, but name butchery is going to occur. Locustus, who mentioned that they just purchased the Grant the Baby Blue Dragon familiar because the Foundation is awesome and they're really happy to help this cause. Yes, if I was better prepared, I would have a freeze frame scene where it's the Grant the Baby Blue Dragon familiar one sheet to show on screen right now. Actually, you know what? It might not. It might be right here. Once it loads. No, the pack? No, it's not going to show up here. Okay. Anyways, Grant the Baby Blue Dragon. So that is a project that we started putting together with the help from our friends at Fonco and someone else that I realize I don't know how much they've had a chance to talk about it publicly yet. So let me just say there's probably more information about that coming because I can't remember exactly when the timing of all the information is coming out. But not Funko as in Funko Pop, at Fonco. Like that's where Hope Lavelle works, and when Hope Lavelle was on, we couldn't talk about anything that Hope works on. But Fonco, yeah, there's somebody named Fawn at Fonco who we've also worked with. But yeah, Grant the Baby Blue Dragon familiar is our latest charity familiar, raising money for the Grant Imahara Steam Foundation, I mean, all purchases, all proceeds from the purchases for the first 2 weeks, I can't remember the exact phrasing, but the money that Codename Entertainment would get instead goes to a charity. And you also get a really cool Baby Blue Dragon familiar. So that's pretty cool. I don't have it yet. I should get it. Let's see. There were a bunch of really cool, amusing, anecdotal comments. So Zeke40, I know that you'd said this a while ago, but like you're like, wait, Erin guessed it on High Rollers. Did I hear that right? I need to see that. Yeah, so there was a High Rollers Aerois sort of special at PAX West 2019. And not all the members of the cast of High Rollers could make it to the show. Like Mark was there, Katie was there, and Tom was there. But Kim, Rhiannon, and Chris were not. And so I connected Mark to Nate Sharp and Erin M. Evans so that Pault and Seppa and Havilar could join their live show. And so they did a live stage show. They were wonderful. Mark was great. It was a strange, planescapey kind of one-shot they did that was really interesting. And yeah, I highly recommend checking it out. Alrighty. Question. If we hit the community challenge, will Dylan talk in rhyme for the last 5 minutes of this stream? Oh, man. Well, I feel like... I don't know. So we're at 468,000 out of 600,000. I'll tell you what, I will do my best. Sure. I will try to do some talking in rhyme. That's not really how I don't think that's how my brain works, but we'll find out. Yeah, sure. I will do my best to talk in rhyme for the last 5 minutes of the stream. If you guys succeed in the community challenge. Yeah. Let's see. I was blown away by Christina's songs. She was making up so quickly. Yes. Yeah, she is. Christina Ariel is very, very talented at coming to improvise music and musical tunes and so on. Got to exercise that skill set a lot on Sirens of the Realms when it was still on. I don't know if it's on right now. I don't think it is. But there's at least 3 seasons of it that have been broadcast both through as part of Maze Arcana, as part of Satine's Twitch channels. I'm not sure where the home would be for any of those episodes right now, because Satine started Gilding Light. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm sure if you went to like sirensoftherealms.com or gildinglight.com or something, you'd probably find the episodes. But anyways, a lot of really cool improvised singing on it, and also Jason Charles Miller on that show, as well as some other really cool people that we've worked with, like Vivid Vivka, who played Ghost on that show. Let's see. Dylan, did that song make Bardic Inspiration Volume 1? People are trying to ask. You know, I was pretty clear on Tuesday that more information about Bardic Inspiration Volume 1 would be coming in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from Tuesday. So, yeah, I wasn't planning on sharing anything else related to it today. I could reshare the one song that we've previewed, but we'll see. People would have to ask for it. So, let's see. How many feathers are needed to make a feather cape for a Tyrannosaurus Rex? Many feathers. Does the magic sandwich box get carried over into the second part of Idle Champions Presents? I don't see why not. I don't think we have any reason to be. Removing items, moving from one adventure to another. They are essentially in a somewhat chronological order. So, yeah. I see somebody in chat saying it depends on how big the bird is. That's also true. How many Idle Champions Presents episodes before we can acquire Bubbles? Oh, the Bubbles the Holophant. That's funny. I can neither confirm nor deny that there may be a Bubbles familiar down the road. It seems likely. Yeah. Let's see. Do you know what's going on with familiars autofilling if the ones saved in the formation are in use elsewhere? It hasn't been working for me for months now. I don't know about that. Yeah. I will, let's see if I can't make a if I can't summon Sean to see if he has an update on that. Sean is definitely the one who has his finger on the pulse of all the different all the different bugs and stuff that we're aiming to address at this point. So maybe I'll just make a note and see if my producer. Oh, Sean just appeared in chat. That's great. Hello, Sean. Yeah. Anyways, same question, Sean. I'll actually, you know what? I'll post it in the Mattermost channel. Boom. Okay. Let's see. Garwar, question. Would your contracts with the various platforms allow you to sell gift codes that could be used on any platform for various items? So if someone wanted to buy DLC packs and gift them to people, they could just buy the codes and then give them away. Oh boy. So there is no universal code system that would allow you to get, like, say, buy Steam DLC and then have you get a code for an Xbox DLC or anything like that. So that's a really interesting question that I'm going to have to pass along to probably them. I'm going to see if I can't. I'll see if I can't get an answer to that. I don't think there's any way we can do stuff like that. But I will ask them. Yeah. Are there plans to further change Brib's skip? As far as I know, there are no plans at the moment to change it further. Will there be an Idle Champions Presents Part 3? I'm assuming, Calavera, what you mean is because we had Part 3 technically on Monday, but we did a first adventure in 3 parts, and we're about to start a second adventure in 3 parts, and you're wondering if there'll be another adventure in 3 parts down the road. I think that depends a bit. What we are hoping for is that this is something that is really fun and engaging for players, that you're participating in the voting, participating in all that system, but also that you're participating in the show, and if enough people are doing that, then yes, there will be a part 3. But it's a little early to tell whether or not we will keep going with it, because we just did our 3rd episode, and we don't have enough data to look at. We think people are really liking it. We think that you guys are having fun with it. We are having fun with it. I am personally having fun with it because I get to work with some really cool people. I get to. There's a lot of ideas and fun things going on with it. B-Dave's a lot of fun to work with. Erin's a lot of fun to work with. Mark and Christina are a lot of fun to work with. Adam Bradford will be joining the cast on Monday, playing Briv Steelmarrow. As you may have guessed from the voting in game, the Briv would be one of the champions. And we have another really cool person joining on Monday that will be announced sometime tomorrow. So yeah, we would very much like to do it. So hopefully it's something that you guys are enjoying. So I got a word back from our live services manager, Chris Dupuy, about your question, Garawar. So Garawar's question was, would your contracts with various platforms allow you to sell gift codes that can be used on any platform for various items? So if somebody wanted to buy DLC packs and gift them to people, they could just buy the codes and then give them away. And the response from Chris is, unfortunately, no. Some platforms have gifting abilities, not necessarily all of them, but we don't have the capability to help facilitate that kind of thing, and it's a very, very complicated thing. Our developers have talked at times a bit on this show about, on the predecessor to this show, the weekly Idle Champions live stream. Our predecessors have talked about how each platform is its own kind of walled garden, was the way they described it. And really what we mean by that is that You deal with Microsoft for all things Xbox. You deal with Valve for all things Steam. You deal with Apple for all things iOS. You deal with Google for all things Android. You deal with Sony for all things PlayStation. You deal with Nintendo for all things Nintendo. And as a general rule, each one of these platforms, I mean, they're in competition with each other in some form or another. And they don't really make things that you can purchase on any one platform that is redeemable on the other ones. And up until more recently, when there are games like Fortnite or Destiny that transcend platforms now, or are in the process of setting up cross-platform play or what have you, that kind of stuff. That kind of stuff is actually unusual. That's an outlier. So Codename Entertainment, Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms, us selling codes that could be redeemed on any one platform is not something that's possible or likely to happen, unfortunately. Okay. To someone who is new to this game, what do you wish you knew then, what you know now, about starting / hints on the game? Sebastian, I personally came into Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms as somebody who had never played an idle game before, or a clicker game before, or like a sort of management optimization game before. I did not play Adventure Capitalist. I did not play Clicker Heroes. I tried Crusaders of the Lost Idols briefly, but it didn't just grab me, and I gave this one a bigger shot personally because it's a D&D based game. I'm like, okay, it's based on D&D. A lot of things in it I will recognize because I have knowledge of D&D. And so I played in the alpha and I enjoyed it. And the thing that did not click for me right away when I first started playing was the value of completing an adventure and resetting, regardless of whether or not you've actually completed the objectives of the adventure. That building up your favor was the core component to the game. Now that may seem obvious to everybody now, especially the more experienced players, but when I first played the game, it was not the thing that was obvious to me, because it's a little counterintuitive, right? Like you look at any adventure, whether it's easy or hard, and you're like, well, why wouldn't I do a hard one? And the reason you don't do a hard one in our game is because it's the difficulty of it is based on what your favor levels are at, and not the other factors, which is a whole other question about our difficulty not necessarily displaying accurately all the time. But yeah, so wrapping my head around the purpose of resets and building up your favor, and then how best to leverage that favor to complete the things you need to complete to reach the soft cap faster, to be able to purchase all of your blessings, that kind of stuff. That was the thing that I personally found to be the most counterintuitive to how my brain works and how I interpreted playing the game, and that I wish I knew right from the get-go, because if I wanted to start over, it would be a lot easier. And then other than that, one of the things that you have the benefit for, Sebastian, that I didn't have the benefit of at the time, is there are some pretty incredible player resources now. We have players who make guides to different aspects of the game. We have players who really take the time to dive into the math of the game and work out what the most optimal setups and formations and champions are in different ways. So there are pretty great indicators for which event champions to pick up first with your first time gates that you get naturally, which champions to focus on when an event comes out. Generally, there's some pretty great stuff for that. I'm going to recommend the subreddit, which is reddit.com/r/idlechampions. I'm going to recommend the Idle Champions Discord, which is discord.gg/idlechampions, which I now see is in chat. Kind of as the first points of contact for where to find things that are very useful to you as a starting player. And then, there are a ton of players who know a lot about this game. So I wish those things had existed when I started. And I am glad they exist now. Okay. Bunk. I did get a response from Sean about the familiars autofilling, and Sean is aware that there are a few different issues affecting familiars, and that it was Nomad84 who sent this one in. So Nomad, if you can give us anything that will help us to better isolate the issue, please submit an in-game support ticket for Sean and kind of just explain it out as best you can, because he says that this isn't a specific one that he necessarily recognizes, but that please pass us more info. Okay, also, so was that a yes or a no for the Bruner song? I didn't hear you guys. Like, do you want to re-preview? Because I'm not going to preview anything new from Bardic Inspiration Volume 1, but I will absolutely re-preview the thing that we've shared so far. I see there's only a couple of you saying do it. That's not enough. It's a very loud rock song. I don't know if you'd all like it. Yeah. So. Okay. All right then. Well, before I hit play, there is one thing I do want to mention. This is not quiet. So as soon as I hit the button, it will get louder, just so you know. So I'm going to do that in 5, 4, 3. Hi. I hope you can turn your speakers back up now. Anyways, I'm gonna adjust the volume thing here. Yeah, that is the ass song from the upcoming Bardic Inspiration Volume 1. And yeah, more information about that not next week, because next week I am not here. And there will be no Bardic Inspiration next week. But the following week, expect to hear more. Not gonna tease anything else about which songs were selected or which genres or any of that thing. I can confirm that of the 8 tracks, there are 8 different genres of music, and all of the 8 tracks were picked. I misspoke on Tuesday. Not from the first 18 shows, from the first 20 shows. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I gotta say, it's been a surreal experience. Jason is obviously a professional musician. He runs a recording studio in Los Angeles, Central Command Studios. The songs for the album were all mixed by Stuart Carrera at Central Command Studios in LA. Jason did everything on Brunner Battlehammer, the greatest Dwarven King, I think is what we named the song. Jason did everything on that song except the lead guitar was by Gary Joseph Potter Jr. I don't know who that is, but that's who did the lead guitar on it. It was really killer. The first time I heard that song, just because it starts with the drums, was just awesome. No Bardic Inspiration, no IL Insights due to Daddy Duty. No Bardic Inspiration due to Daddy Duty, but Margaret will be hosting Idle Insights next week. She will be interviewing someone very cool that will be announced next week. But yeah, Margaret will be in this box. I'm just like pointing at my like webcam frame. Margaret will be here next week to take the reins for episode 12, and I will be back the week following to share some more Bardic Inspiration with all of you. Okay, what else do we have for questions? What do you think of the idea of an HOT-based / segmented health champion / tank? That's an interesting idea. Yeah. So next week is spoilers week. Oh, it better not be. Let me tell you, it better not be. Oh, Margaret. No, Margaret can spoil whatever she wants on the show next week as long as it's not anything tied to the Bardic Inspiration Volume 1. Yeah, she has carte blanche to spoil things other than that. Which is, I realize, not really enough restrictions, but that's a lot of stuff. I guess the extra cuss next week is Chris. Yeah, right, hey? No. Anyways, an HOT-based or segmented health champion. These are interesting ideas. So one of the things that's really interesting, well, interesting to us, but maybe not interesting to everybody, we spend a lot of time trying to adapt characters to the game. We do on occasion create original characters that, try to use unique or different concepts for, but for the most part, we are trying to realize somebody else's vision for a character. And it's one of the reasons why we never really seem to see like magic-based tanks. There are ways to do it in 5e, but it's not something that you see a huge amount of. And an HOT-based or a segmented health champion, I don't know how that would fit in. So I mean, I can pass the idea along to the design team, but I have no idea if that's something that'll come together. What are your thoughts of a quote Dylan Pickle familiar? I've never heard that one before. I think we can come up with something cooler than a Dylan Pickle. for a familiar because there are a bazillion cool little things, many of them cute in the Forgotten Realms. But if the community really, really, really wants a pickle familiar named Dylan, and you'll buy it, I see no reason not to. Or a pickled Dylan. How about a little Dylan skeleton in a tiny gelatinous cube? That would be better. How about that? You guys you're weird. Oh man. Familiars. I am not familiar with them. How do they work? Familiars, basically what they'll do is they will click for you, and there are a few different areas on the screen you can put them. So I will switch over to the game only view. Oh, game only view. And I will hide the top part just because it doesn't need to be there right now. So their familiars are down here in this little mage hand icon. You have however many to choose from. The ones that have little blue unassigned buttons mean that those familiars are already doing something, and if you click it, they will stop doing whatever they're doing and reappear available here. But yeah, we have lots of them. And so if you grab one and drag it out, like this fluffy beholder, you see these 6 spots right here. These are the spots that click on enemies as they come in. But they do your click damage, which is the icon in the bottom left corner here, the one that I currently have set to... Oh, I never got the snowball one. Whoops. I'm an idiot. Anyways, oh yeah, I did. Okay. Yeah, snowballs. But they do your click damage. So in order for a familiar to do a lot of damage from clicking, you want higher click damage. You can put up to 6 here, and they click at 5 clicks per second each, I think it is. I think that's the correct number. And then, but you can put them down on the lower bar, and they will level up champions. Like I'm leveling up Pirate Baloth, even though he's not in the formation. You can also put them here, where they will hover above the ultimate bar, and every 30 seconds randomly click one. And you can drag lots of familiars over here if you want to, and they'll all just kind of click away at that rate. But you can also grab them and put them on an individual ultimate, and they will click that ultimate over and over and over again. And so they'll just keep trying to do it every time it's available. I wouldn't describe it as the most optimal play, but that's something that they can do. Now, the nice thing about putting them out here on the field is if you have enough of them out here, I'll just drag 6 out. You can see the clicking getting more and more furious. And you could do something like combine it with a fire breath potion. Whoops. How about a rare fire breath potion? Use one. They will take your bud damage to click instead, and they will shred through enemies because they're doing party damage to them, right? So now the clicks are killing enemies basically instantly as soon as they appear. But the other thing is when you have 6 of them out, they also click the distractions that come by in the background, like the birds and bats and so on. And they open things up, and they automatically pick up your loot. You see all the little we call them coopers, but all the coins and quest drops and stuff, they'll automatically get picked up instantly by the familiars. And so that's kind of the benefit of it. And then the other thing about them is rather than drag them out one at a time, you can hold down the F key and click on a spot that has a familiar to send them back, or click on a spot that doesn't have a familiar to send them there. Now, holding down the F key is a lot easier, I think. That's what I tend to do. And if you hold down the F key and you click on the familiar box, boom, every familiar everywhere gets pulled back on your active screen. So if you have familiars active in your second party, they will still be there. But all the ones on your active screen will get pulled back to here. So now you can see they're all here. Anyways, I tend to leave familiars on the characters that are in the formation so that it just levels them up so I don't have to think about it. So familiars are not essential to gameplay, but they're very, very helpful. And I would consider them somewhat essential to set up an optimal Modron formation in the background, because then they will grab characters and level them up, because the way that Modron automation works, you need to use them to grab champions, level them up, place them, use formations, etc. They're just a key component of it, because Modron automation will do whatever you set up for the screen in it. So that's a whole other discussion. There's a much better explanation of Modron automation and multi-party mode, and how to use Modron automation, how to do what players affectionately call the pipe game, which is like viewing a core. This is the pipe game. I have personally been too lazy to finish this on this character, but optimizing that out. There's a couple really cool video guides that Garwar did on Garwar's Guide on Saturdays that you can find on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/cnegames, that can better explain that feature, because off the top of my head, I don't have what it takes to explain that well. Okay. I hope there are more interactive adventures in the future. Super unique and cool idea. Thank you. Yeah, it's been, in many ways a labor of love. It's something that we wanted to do. We've been wanting to do our own TRPG type show for a long time, because we make a D&D game. We thought it would be really cool to have a D&D stream on our channel, other than the ones that we host or have hosted from other people, or rehosted, or that we link out to, etc., that kind of stuff. But we wanted to do something that worked well for us, that also helped to further the game. So we figured Idle Champions Presents, in its current incarnation, where you vote on things that happen in the show, and you in here can see the results of what happened when you voted, beyond you getting rewards that you get to claim whether you participate or not. We thought that was a really cool, fun thing. And then some of the events on the show also affect the game, which is why there are demonic geese in the game now. So yeah, it was very cool. We're really happy with it. We've been enjoying it. Alrighty. Will the redacted champion be revealed on Griddle Champions tomorrow? I hope. The redacted champion will be revealed tomorrow, is what I can guarantee. Maybe a list of which platforms that can have items gifted, and a bit on how to go about gifting them for those of us that aren't on those platforms. That's a question I don't know. As far as I know off the top of my head, the only platform you'd be able to gift things on is Steam, because Steam has a really robust gifting system in terms of purchasing DLC and sending it to people. Is it growing increasingly hard to create new champion mechanics with every new champion? The pool of interactions at 76 champions is magnitudes larger to when Idle Champions launched. It's true. That is, that's the ongoing design challenge for anything that's live service, right? I always look at and reference people to World of Warcraft, because it's at year 16 right now. Because I played it hardcore in its first couple of years, and that was a while ago. I was a lot younger. But games evolve. There's a slow but steady evolution that comes with, new design, new ideas, new team members. When Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms started, it was a much smaller team on our end that worked on the game that has grown, and Chris Dupuis does a lot of what we call the live services manager role, but really it's he's in many ways he designs and plans all of our content and a lot of our stuff, and then he and Justin or Dupuis and Justin come up with a lot of the big ideas, features, that kind of stuff, and then the development team makes it happen, makes it a reality. And I gotta say, I haven't seen them losing steam, so to speak, in terms of coming up with new ideas and new designs. It is an ongoing challenge as a game designer. It is always going to be the challenge of being a game designer. And yeah, there are a lot of champions now. We've gone through a lot of them and a lot of designs. And, we've gone through phases where we like some aspects of design more than others. We'll keep going. It's, yeah, I don't know that it grows increasingly hard, because I think the difficulty is always about the same. It's a creativity thing as well. You are more or less easily inspired at times. Sometimes it comes quickly and easily, and sometimes it's a bit more of a struggle. But either way, it does eventually get done. At this point, we tend to design champions 3, 4, 5 months out. All the champions for the summer have been designed at this point. It's just a matter of waiting. And then, of course, designed doesn't mean implemented and tested. Implementation and testing happens a lot closer to when the champion is coming out, but yeah. Let's see. Does Taylor Swift count as a genre? So, here's a funny thing, a little bit of an anecdote. When we did You Could Be My Dragon Queen, which was, what is that, episode 19? It was like unexpectedly fantastic. It was just kind of a fun joke at the time. It's like, let's do a song in the style of Taylor Swift, which is a bit ambitious, I must admit, for us, in the sense that Taylor Swift is not limited to one style of music as an artist. At this point, Taylor Swift has made many styles of music as an artist. I mean, they all tend to lean towards pop, sure, but she's done country, she's doing folk with her most recent one, she's done a little bit more pop electro stuff, like she just, she makes pop music. And like David Bowie, Kronos, I don't think personally that Taylor Swift is as creatively diverse as David Bowie. I think David Bowie was in a rank that very few musicians have ever reached in terms of creativity and diverse creativity. But anyways, I'm not going to shame Taylor Swift or speak ill of her. I mean, I'm not a fan of very much of her music. Some of it's really catchy, I got to admit. And so while we did do a song in the style of Taylor Swift, we did a pop song. We made a pop song. It is the only pop song we've made. It is easily, much as I hate to admit it, one of the best songs we've made on Bardic Inspiration. It turned out really, really good. So yeah, I don't know that Taylor Swift counts as a genre. Taylor Swift is an artist who is a very diverse talent. And when my wife heard You Could Be My Dragon Queen, she said, Taylor Swift's better than this. And then she also, my wife, who is very musical and plays a number of instruments and can really sing, and she's like, there are a lot of ways in which Taylor Swift as an artist is beyond what you guys have tried to do with this pop song. And I was like, ouch. But she's right. We made a pop song. It's awesome. It doesn't sound like Taylor Swift. It sounds like pop. But we gave it our best shot, and if anything, I respect Taylor Swift more because of it. Because yeah, it's hard. Making music is hard. I kind of like one of our players. Who calls himself a metal fan, but sometimes enjoys pop. I feel like the older I get, the more I have come to realize that it's actually, there are no individual genres of music I don't like. It's just a matter of whether or not I've found an artist I like in that genre of music. I used to think that I didn't like country, and then I eventually heard country music I really liked. And so on and so forth. Maybe that's part of my growth as a human. I don't know. There was unexpectedly, one of my friends sent me a Sturgill Simpson album 2 years ago now. 2 years ago? Yeah. Sturgill Simpson is referred to as alt country, which I didn't know what that meant at the time. And I'd heard some of his music from his first couple albums, and they were country, and they didn't really grab me. But he sent me Sound and Fury, which is, it's like, I think I read in an interview that Sturgill Simpson said that he had been watching a lot of anime and listening to a lot of heavy metal when he made the album, and you can tell when you listen to it. It is, I think it's amazing. I love it. I loved every second of that album. It's awesome all the way through. But it, to me, doesn't really sound like country. It sounds like, at times, like heavy metal, at times like alternative, at times like it's got these really intense Japanese influences. Highly recommend it. Anyways, so kind of pulling it back a bit. There are all kinds of different types of each type of music. It took me a long time to be able to get into hip hop because it just never really resonated with me. And but then eventually it did. Eventually I heard hip hop that I loved, rap that I loved. Yeah. And no, we won't be doing any rap or hip hop songs on Bardic Inspiration. That is a talent outside us. That stuff is hard. It's hard to do. There's just no way. Yeah. Yeah. As I said in chat, community code with 3 exclamation marks is the community code. But because you guys didn't make it to 600K, and you're not likely to in the next 10 minutes, I don't have to rhyme today, which is great. Different genres would be interesting to hear. Is it on Spotify? We haven't gone into details about how Bardic Inspiration Volume 1 will be released yet, Gandalf Agri. But I can say that it's not likely to appear on Spotify. For reasons. Yeah. And I see somebody else asking whether or not it's going to be on Apple Music. We will go over the ways in which players or those interested will have access to Bardic Inspiration Volume 1 in 2 weeks. Not next week, the week after. I'm looking forward to talking about it, but it's something that we're still going to sit on for now. So now it's just the tease of the Brunor Battlehammers, the greatest Dwarven King song that has an awesome Battlestar Galactica reference in it. So we've got a number of suggestions and bug-related questions that I'm not going to dive into because I don't have answers for you, but what I can do is I can make sure that they're flagged for the appropriate members of the team. And I know I'm aware that is a non-answer or it's an engagement with a question that not everybody is a fan of. And it gets tiring hearing things like, I'll pass that along. But I mean, those of us who host streams on the C&E Games Twitch, I mean, that's the best that we can do as people who are kind of like front facing. I mean, we're not personally the ones who do the development work on the game, right? We pass it along to the team. And then things kind of get shuffled around the priority list based on what is most priority at that time. So, yeah. Someone very cool whose character we might pick up next week. That seems likely, Babylon Ranger. There's a new event coming next week, Festival of Fools Year 4. Stands to reason there will be a Year 4 champion. Who could it be? Could it be someone that makes their appearance on Idle Champions Presents starting next week as well as being available in the game? Oh, I guess we'll see. Let's see. Question. Next champion going to be a C&E brand new or a subs character, or will be a race subclass yet unseen? Triton, Kenku, Tempest Cleric. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna wait. Aquatic Demon, you will only have to wait 1 day to get a more full answer to that. I can't get more into it now. Will longtime C&E streamers ever get their own champions in Idle Champions? Huh. And why doesn't Dylan have the Baby Blue Dragon yet? So the reason I don't have Grant the Baby Blue Dragon familiar pack is one, I didn't buy it. But also, my account is flagged as associated with the developer for Idle Champions games, channel Idle Champions of Forgotten Realms, Codename Entertainment. And because of that, when we enter stuff in the Steam store and on platforms that recognize that, the DLC just automatically goes into the game. So, I have all DLC. And at some point that will also happen to the Grant familiar, so I just haven't really looked into it yet. What we need the most right now is a magic-based tank with 13 plus intellect and 14 plus constitution that is either good or evil, so not neutral. So what you need most right now is a magical tank that you can use in Strahd, Vajra, and Mert variants. Understood. Oh, what's this? Oh, I just got a notification. Community challenge is 95% complete. Oh, but you're still 28,000 away from me speaking in rhyme. I am legally blind. Where on the game screen is the familiar button located? Oh, okay. Let's see. So all the characters are on the bottom bar of the screen in the Steam version of the game, tablet version of the game. And then just above all of the characters, there is the Ultimates section where each one of their ultimate abilities is. To the right of that section, so you have your Ultimates kind of in the middle of the screen at the top, in the middle aligned part of the screen, just above the characters at the bottom of the screen. Just to the right of that, there are up to 3 icons. The first one will be your inventory. The next one to the right after that will be your familiars, and if you've unlocked it, the one after that will be your adventuring parties, which is the Modron automation and multi-party mode. So if you have the familiars button, okay, I'm going to finish explaining this part, everybody, before trying to rhyme, because I'm not going to try to explain something in rhyme. There's just no freaking way. I don't have the time. Anyways, the familiars button is just to the right of the inventory, and you can also hold down the F key and click on the different familiar locations. Oh boy. Okay. This is going to be that kind of day. Dylan, is a quarterly celebration coming in the next few weeks? There's a lot to celebrate. Idle Champions Presents, Lauren as community manager, Twitch rebroadcast, etc., etc. What can I say about what is coming up soon? There will be a full day of streaming to tune into. I gotta say, this is not easy. And now that I'm on the spot, I'm feeling queasy. I'm not really sure how to go about reading all of these questions out. I can see all of your taunts in the chat, but you guys are going to have to do better than that. People asking for hints for the hidden combination. I'm going to have to look it up because I am not really sure what was made for this show today. If you want the hidden code, you're going to have to look. It has something to do with one of Erin's books. You know, I get it now. It's not really fair. It's also really hard not to swear. Oh, you guys see that? Look at the time. Only another minute or so for me talking in rhyme. Okay, I have no idea how to do the outro and thanking people while rhyming, and I do need to do that right now, so please bear with me. But yeah, being on the spot, it's kind of hard to rhyme. So I hope my 5 minutes of utter discomfort was really entertaining for everybody. This has been Idle Insights for March 11th, 2021. Thank you all for joining me today, for punishing me to speak in rhymes, and for participating in the Idle Champions and Dungeons and Dragons communities. Normally, this is where I would say you guys are awesome, but you guys are mean. This show exists because of a number of amazing people behind the scenes, including our co-producer, moderator, Jay, the omnipresent Obo Lauren, as well as our partners at Dungeons and Dragons. Huge thanks to Erin M. Evans for taking time out of her schedule to join me today to talk about D&D and writing. Yeah. Take care, everybody. We will catch you tomorrow on Griddle Champions. And 2 weeks until you get to learn more about Bardic Inspiration Volume 1. I hope you enjoy The Greatest Dwarven King. It was fun to write. It's episode 1 right there. Anyways, goodbye everybody. And have a great rest of your day. Cheers.